Let me say something that most people dance around but never actually say directly. Intimacy, real intimacy, doesn't arrive announced. It doesn't knock on the door with a clear label and a straightforward invitation. It builds, it signals, it communicates itself through layers of behavior and energy and emotional disclosure that most men have never been taught to recognize. And here's the part that quietly haunts so many people. The signals were there, they were always there. And somewhere between self doubt and the fear of misreading the moment, they got missed. The connection faded, the window closed, and two people who could have moved towards something real ended up moving apart instead, not because the desire wasn't mutual, but because nobody knew how to read what was actually being communicated. Today, we fix that. Three clear signs, rooted in psychology, rooted in how women actually experience and express the desire for closeness, that will change how you understand every meaningful connection in your life going forward. Here's the specific pain I want to speak to directly. You've been in that space before, that charged, uncertain middle ground between something clearly casual and something clearly intimate, where you can feel that something is building, but you have absolutely no framework to confirm it, where you want to move closer, but the fear of misreading the moment keeps you frozen. And that frozen space is exhausting because it forces you to live in your head instead of in the actual connection happening right in front of you. You analyze every text, you replay every conversation, you try to build certainty out of fragments because nobody ever gave you a reliable map. This is that map, not a manipulation tool, not a checklist to run through mechanically. A genuine, psychologically grounded understanding of how women communicate the desire for intimacy before they say it in words, because they almost never say it in words first. And if you've been waiting for that direct verbal confirmation, you've probably been waiting through moments that deserved something more. Before we talk about the signs, we need to get the definition right because most men are working with an incomplete picture of what intimacy actually means. For most men, intimacy is primarily understood as physical, as the destination, as the thing that either happens or doesn't happen at the end of a connection. For most women, intimacy is an ecosystem. It is emotional safety, genuine understanding, physical desire, psychological connection, and felt security, all woven together. And what she signals when she's moving toward intimacy is not just physical readiness. It is the whole ecosystem coming online at once. This distinction matters enormously because if you're only watching for physical signals, you're missing the deeper, earlier, more revealing signs that come long before the physical dimension announces itself. The emotional signs, the vulnerability signs, the trust signs. Those are what we're here to talk about. Here is the first sign, and it's the subtlest, which is exactly why it's the most commonly missed. Watch for moments when she does something very specific. She creates a private world between just the two of you inside a larger social setting, an inside reference only you two share, a look across a room that communicates something nobody else in that room could decode, a quiet conversation that pulls slightly away from the group, not physically necessarily, but energetically. Psychologists call this dyadic withdrawal, the natural human tendency to create paired intimacy within social contexts. And it is one of the earliest and most reliable indicators that a person is beginning to experience you as specifically significant rather than generally pleasant company. When she starts creating these small enclosures, these private spaces of shared meaning, she is building emotional intimacy with you on purpose, even if she hasn't consciously framed it that way to herself yet. She is practicing the feeling of just the two of you. She is seeing how it sits, whether it feels as good as she thinks it does when she imagines it. When you notice this happening, lean into it gently, receive it, build on it. She is extending an invitation in the most low-risk way available to her, and how you respond tells her everything about whether it's safe to keep going. This is the sign that carries the most psychological weight and the one that most clearly separates genuine intimacy seeking from ordinary friendliness. There are levels of vulnerability. Surface vulnerability, talking about a hard week, admitting you're tired, mentioning something didn't go as planned, is available to almost everyone in a person's life. It costs relatively little. It doesn't require deep trust. But then there is specific vulnerability, the kind that requires genuine trust to offer, the kind that says, I am showing you something I don't show most people, and I am watching to see if you hold it carefully. When she tells you about the relationship that genuinely broke something in her, when she shares the fear she carries about her own worth that she doesn't talk about in public, when she admits to wanting something emotionally, physically, in terms of connection, that she's felt embarrassed to want, when she shows you the parts of herself that aren't curated, aren't polished, aren't designed to impress anyone, that level of disclosure is not friendship. That is pre-intimacy. That is her emotional body moving toward yours before her physical body has been given permission to follow. And here is what you must understand about how to receive it. She is not looking for you to fix it, reframe it, or immediately reciprocate with your own story. She is looking for you to stay, to hold what she gave you without flinching, without judgment, without making it about you. The man who can do that, who can receive her specific vulnerability with steady, unhurried presence, becomes the man she trusts enough to want completely. Let me take a moment here because this is foundational and it changes everything. Research in female sexuality, particularly work by Dr. Emily Nagoski, consistently shows something that surprises a lot of people. For the majority of women, desire does not precede safety, it follows it. This is categorically different from how many men experience attraction, where physical desire can exist independently of deep emotional connection. For most women, the nervous system needs to feel genuinely safe before desire fully activates. Safe meaning, this person will not judge me, this person will not disappear, this person sees me fully and is not frightened by what they see. This is why emotional vulnerability is not a detour on the way to intimacy. It is intimacy in its earliest and most important form. When she is showing you her real self and you are receiving it with warmth and steadiness, you are not just building connection, you are building the neurological conditions under which her desire can actually emerge. Understanding this reframes everything. Every moment of genuine emotional presence you bring to the connection is not just kindness. It is the environment in which closeness becomes possible. This sign is quieter than the others, but unmistakably real once you know to look for it. When a woman is moving toward intimacy with someone, her awareness of that person's experience expands noticeably. She becomes attuned to whether you're comfortable, whether you're happy, whether something seems off with you today that wasn't there yesterday. She notices when you seem tired before you've said anything about it. She anticipates what you might need in a situation, a quieter environment, a different kind of conversation, space or closeness, depending on your mood. She remembers that you don't like a certain thing and makes sure it's not present. She checks in, not intrusively, not anxiously, but with the gentle attentiveness of someone who has begun to care about your interior life. This attunement is not something women extend freely. It requires emotional investment. It requires that you have moved from the category of person I know into the category of person whose well-being genuinely matters to me. That shift in category is significant. It means she has begun to include you in her emotional world, not just as a presence she enjoys, but as someone she feels responsible to in a quiet, caring way. And that sense of mutual care, that felt sense of mattering to each other, is the emotional architecture of genuine intimacy. We've talked about emotional signs. Now let's talk about something more physical, but subtler than most people expect. Watch the distance she keeps between you, not in a single moment, but as a pattern across multiple interactions. Is that distance shrinking over time? Does she sit closer than she used to? Does she find reasons to be in the same physical space as you, even when the situation doesn't strictly require it? Does she stay in your orbit at social events instead of distributing herself equally among everyone present? The body moves toward what the heart is choosing, quietly, consistently, without making an announcement. And when someone's physical proximity to you keeps decreasing, when they keep finding reasons to be near you, their body is casting a vote that their words haven't formalized yet. Pay attention also to what happens when contact occurs accidentally. Does she pull back immediately, or does she allow it to linger for a half beat longer than strictly necessary? That half beat is not accidental. That half beat is her body asking a question. What most men do that breaks the signal chain. Here is the part that matters as much as recognizing the signs, because recognition without the right response doesn't actually get you anywhere. When men begin to sense these signals, the emotional vulnerability, the shrinking distance, the attentiveness, there are two common responses, both of which interrupt the natural progression toward intimacy. The first is moving too fast. Interpreting the signals as a green light for immediate physical escalation before the emotional foundation has been given enough time to fully solidify. This breaks the safety she's been building and can shut down the entire connection, not because the desire wasn't mutual, but because the timing felt unsafe. The second is freezing entirely, becoming so aware of the signals that self-consciousness takes over analyzing, second guessing, pulling back out of fear of misreading. This registers to her as disinterest or rejection, and she will begin protecting herself accordingly. The right response is neither. It is presence with warmth and gentle reciprocity, matching her emotional openness with your own, closing the physical distance slightly in moments where it feels natural, creating more of the emotional enclosures she's been building with you, letting her know through your steady, engaged, unhurried presence that what she is moving toward is safe, real, and welcome. That response keeps the signal chain intact. It tells her everything she needs to know. Here's the deepest truth of everything we've covered today. Real intimacy, the kind that actually means something, the kind that stays, is never one person successfully reading another person's signals and executing the correct moves. It is two people slowly, bravely, authentically moving toward each other, bringing more of their real selves into the shared space, trusting incrementally, building something together that neither of them could have built alone. The signs we've talked about today are not a code to crack. They are a language to learn so that you can participate in this mutual unfolding more consciously, so that you don't miss the moments that matter because nobody taught you what they looked like. She is trying to find her way toward you in the only language available to her before words feel safe. Your job is to become fluent enough to meet her there, present, warm, grounded, and brave enough to let her see that you feel it too. Here's what I want to leave you with: the longing for genuine intimacy, for someone who really sees you, who wants to be close to you in all the ways that word actually means, is one of the most universal human experiences that exists. It doesn't diminish with age. It doesn't become less important when life gets complicated. It is always there, underneath everything, asking to be met. She has been signaling that desire the only way she knows how, carefully, layered, in the language of vulnerability and proximity and quiet attention. And now you have the framework to understand what she's been saying. Don't let that understanding make you mechanical. Let it make you present. Let it slow you down enough to actually receive what's being offered, and brave enough to offer something real in return. Because at the end of everything, intimacy is not something that happens to you. It is something you build together, one honest moment at a time. If this gave you a new way to see the connections in your life, if something here landed in a way that felt true, subscribe. Every week we go this deep into the psychology of love, desire, and human connection, honest, layered, real. That's what you'll find here every single time. I'll see you in the next one. You deserve the kind of closeness we talked about today. Don't settle for anything less.